Hello. Last time I have already given you the classification of the plants. Now we come to the next part of it, is the classification of the animals. Just I'll give a small review of what we have done last time. Plants, that you have three groups: cryptogams, gymnosperm and angiosperm. But in the case of the animal, it is very much detailed. You have the two major groups out here, two major groups. And every group is divided into many phylums according to the way they develop. That is, so what are the two major groups? Well, you must have done in the lower classes, vertebrates and the invertebrates. What are invertebrates? Invertebrates and the vertebrates. Invertebrates are those organisms which have no backbone, but we don't call it a backbone in the biology, we use the word vertebral column. They don't have any vertebra, a very simple thing. And the vertebrates, they have the well-developed vertebrate. And in between these two, you have a set of 2 or 3 organisms called the eukaryotes, where there is not a well-defined vertebra. It's not a well-defined. It is a cartilaginous structure protecting the. You must have noted in this part or in the lower classes. Anyway, so eukaryote they call it, and there is the nerve is protected, or the spinal cord is protected by the small cartilaginous plate. So eukaryote you call it. Anyway, and what are the differences between these two? What are the two differences, major differences? Then I will come to the various phylums. First, very simple. Presence of the absence of the vertebral column in the invertebrate. In the case of the simultaneously I'm doing the vertebrates, they have the well-developed vertebral column. Where it is located? The vertebra is located in the case of the vertebrate. I am calling out the vertebrate inside the body, which gives you a framework to the back of your body. But in the case of the invertebrates, it is devoid of any vertebral column. But in few cases, there are few exceptions. They have the hard cartilaginous structure, and that you cannot call it out a vertebra. It is you must have seen the this murex or a pila or the snails. They secrete their outside covering, which we call the external skeleton. Very few organisms they have the skeleton, and some of the insects like your beetles, they have the hard cartilaginous structure. So this is your external called the external is hard part of it, so called the external vertebra or the external structure that is known as external part of the vertebra, protecting all tissues. But it is not exactly the same like that of the vertebra. Anyway, so this invertebrate is divided into many phylums. What is the first phylum? This is microscopic organism called the Protozoa. Just like that, in the case of your plants, you have the cryptogams. Exactly the same thing you have. The first group of the first, we don't call the group. We call it as a phylum. The first phylum of the invertebrate is Protozoa. This includes the microscopic organism, and some of these microscopic organisms, they are parasite, free living, or they may be present in the air also. So, what are they? Amoeba, paramecium, a very common protozoans. You must have done this in class 10, I believe, both those who are from the CBSE background and ICSE, Protozoa. These are the two very common protozoans example of this. And they may be, that I told you, they may be parasitic. The second group is, I will do it very hurriedly, about 8 or 9, coelentrates. Coelentrates that include the Physalia, etc. The cartilaginous, membranous-like structure found in the sea. This is entirely marine, without any, and they have the well developed sinus and hydrated. Now they have in cylinder in between these. Then we have the third group, what we call is platyhelminthes. What is a platyhelminthes? It's a flat form, what we call is Tinea solum. Tinea solum is the common name of the flat form. That the life of this is your passes in two different hosts. One is the human intestine, and the second is your vegetable product and the contaminated water. So it passes through these two phases, or sometime it has been eaten by the pigs. Sometimes it is being eaten by the pigs. So the life cycle is completed within the two hosts, sometimes the pig and the human intestine. The detail of it that I'll do today. And this is the body is flat, which is that's why it is known as a tapeworm, and is a hermaphrodite. I'm not giving you the characters. I'm simply giving you the example of the invertebrate phylum. After this, you have the second phylum. Next phylum is your Nematoda, or after this platyhelminth is Nematohelminthes. It includes the roundworms. It has a one host, the human intestine, and the second is your contaminated water or the waste product. And here in this case is not a hermaphrodite, whereas in the case of this, the male and the female are separate in the case of the roundworm. Ascaris lumbricoides, that is a roundworm. Ascaris lumbricoides is the biological name of this roundworm. The next is after this is your annelida. The body is exactly like that of the worm, but the body is divided into many rings called the segments, and it is also a hermaphrodite. And from here they have a slightly developed, well-developed blood vascular system. So this is what they have. Now, apart from this, you have the next is your arthropods. The next phylum of the invertebrates is arthropods. What do you mean by arthro? Arthro means jointed, pods means leg. So those organisms which are invertebrates, if they have the jointed legs, they come under the arthropod. So all the insects in this group are included in this. The next phylum after this is your Arthropoda. You have the next phylum after this is your arthropods. Mollusca. The next phylum after this is your mollusca. I'm sorry, I forgot to give you the example of the after this you have the ringworms, that is your earthworm. Earthworm, Pherythema faustima is the example of that. Well, that will come before the arthropod. After this Pherythema faustima, that is your earthworm, it is that one detail I am not giving you much detail, simply calling out the phylum's name. And after this comes the Arthropoda. After Arthropoda, next is your Mollusca. Mollusca includes all the snails, spila, etc. And that the pearls that we get it from the same phylum which is included. And the last one is your Echinodermata, which includes the starfish. Now this is one of the very simple phylum's name of the invertebrates. Now exactly the same we have the vertebrates. But before we go to the vertebrate and invertebrate, we have few more differences between these two which you don't have done in the lower classes. As a simple one I have given you about the presence of the vertebra and invertebrate. In the invertebrate they don't have a vertebral column, whereas the vertebrates they have. Apart from this little more detail, which we do it later after. The nervous system in the case of the vertebrates is on the dorsal side of the back of it. But in the case of the invertebrates, that is in the ventral side. I am giving you the difference because these are some details of it which you will have to do before you go to the vertebrates, before you go to the vertebrates phylum. Okay. And secondly, the blood vascular system. The blood vascular system in the case of your invertebrates, in the case of the invertebrates, is also on the dorsal side, on the back of their body. Whereas in the case of this, in the vertebrate, that is in your in the ventral side, or right in front of our body. So these are the two different. And then we come to the next phylum, the most advanced phylum of the classification of the organism is your of the animal. The first phylum is your fishes or pisces is known as. So their body is so adapted in the that is they have the flexible body, but they have the flexible vertebral column, because every vertebra has a cartilaginous pad in every junction of vertebra, so that makes the body move or the twist in water. Second phylum of this is the second phylum after the fishes is the second phylum after the fishes is Ampibia. What do you mean by the Ampibia? Ampibia means organism which can live both on land as well as in water. Amphibious nature, because the body is so adapted. Partly it can live on the land, and the very common example is your toad and the frog. The Rana tigrina is the common name of the frog which we study in your. I'm simply giving you the example of that one. And next we have this after the fishes. Now Amphibia. We come to the next phylum is your reptiles. Reptiles, they include, this is the third phylum of that. After this, a reptile. Reptiles, the body is adapted with a very hard scale. They are all covered with a hard scale, and they lay eggs, calcareous eggs. They start laying the calcareous eggs out here in this case. And the first is whereas in the lower phylums they don't lay the eggs yet. Anyway, I'm not giving you the details of it, only simply the name of these. Tortoise, snakes, crocodile, alligators, they are all the examples of that. And the next phylum is your aves, which aves that includes all the birds. The body is adapted to live in water, in the air. Sorry, they live in the air. They are easily make the body fly in the air. The last advanced is your mammals, and the mammal phylum is the most advanced of your vertebrate group or the vertebrate phylum, and that includes the very well advanced organism out there, Homo sapien, or the human being. The biological name of the human being is Homo sapien. Apart from this group, this phylum, the mammal is further divided into three: Prototheria, Eutheria, and Metatheria. That is according to because there are some of the organisms which have few characters like that of the birds, and some of the characters, they have the more characters they have like of the mammals,